Hi and welcome back to the AQA GCSE History Elizabeth I Revision Series. This is episode 9 and we're looking at the religious settlement. By 1558, England had experienced decades of many religious changes. Elizabeth's religious settlement, passed in 1559, aimed to put a stop to these changes and bring religious stability to England. When Elizabeth became Queen in 1558, England had suffered 30 years of religious turmoil, with the national religion switching repeatedly between Catholicism and Protestantism. In the reign of Henry VIII until the 1530s, England was a Catholic country, and most people were Catholics. However, in the early 1530s, Henry VIII broke away from the Roman Catholic Church. He rejected the Pope's authority and made himself head of the Church of England. During Edward VI's reign, Edward VI was a strong supporter of Protestantism. When he became king, he tried to reform the English Church and make it more Protestant. During the reign of Mary I, she was a avowed Catholic. As Queen, she made England Catholic again. She restored the Pope as the head of the English Church and removed Edward's Protestant reforms. Protestants were harshly prosecuted under Mary, more than 280 were executed, and many more fled to the Protestant countries within Europe. Elizabeth had been raised as a Protestant. She was deeply religious and committed to Protestantism. But she was also determined to make the constant religious changes stop and create a stable and lasting religious settlement. Protestants questioned the authority of the Pope and rejected some of the Catholic beliefs. For example, they believed that Christians were saved by faith, not by good deeds. They encouraged ordinary people to read the Bible by translating it from Latin, and thought churches should be plain and simple, unlike the highly decorated Catholic churches. The religious settlement was designed for religious stability. Under it there were two acts. The Act of Supremacy gave Elizabeth control over the church, and the Act of Uniformity made moderate Protestant reforms. For the Act of Supremacy, Henry VIII and Henry VI used the title of Supreme Head of the Church of England. In her Act of Supremacy, passed in 1559, Elizabeth altered this title to make herself the Supreme Governor of the English Church. This gave Elizabeth control of the English Church without actually calling her its head. This compromise satisfies those who believe the woman could not lead the Church. The Act of Uniformity and the Royal Injunctions both passed in 1559. They imposed moderate Protestant reforms on the Church of England, but they also made some concessions for the English Catholics. For reforms, going to church became compulsory. There were fines for missing a church service. A new Book of Common Prayer was issued, which had to be used in all churches. All parishes had a copy of the Bible in English. For concessions, the wording of the communion service was kept deliberately vague, so that it could be accepted by both Protestants and Catholics. Churches could keep some decoration, and priests had to wear certain Catholic vestments, such as robes. The religious settlement made England a Protestant country, but allowed some elements of the Catholic belief and practice to continue. This middle way was designed to satisfy the majority who held the moderate religious beliefs and were willing to make some compromises for the sake of peace and stability, but it couldn't win over some of the more extreme Catholics or the Puritans. So that's the end of episode 9 of the AQA GCSE History Elizabeth I Revision Series. Next episode we'll be looking at Mary, Queen of Scots. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed.